Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Shaji and the team of IFPH, who is doing an enormous job of promoting homeopathy all over the world. And especially in this period of lockdown situation all around, they've been conducting a regular uninterrupted classes. And today it's been the 155th, which itself should be a record not only in India, I think it should be an international record for the continuation, updation, as well as, education and promotion of homeopathy. Today, we've seen a scenario of COVID and all that. Though we have been fighting, for our existence and show of betterment of homeopathy, which unfortunately has not been come up despite of repeated efforts. And this is an unfortunate part. But at the same time, I think like the IFPH has taken a plunge that the people, those who are not being vaccinated and all that, if we are able to treat those people with homeopathy and definitely can win, laurels on that, plus do good for the humanity. As we have, Dr. Shaji has introduced, that I've been doing a lot of work for, motor neuron diseases. And this is one particular disease where I'm not very sure that many doctors have the opportunity to see many cases. And by grace of God and Dr. Henneman's grace, that I've been in the situation where I've been treating more than 500 cases in my own clinics of AKG's OVMs. And that is why I have really, thought that, this is one particular field where homeopathic is definitely can have an edge. So coming to the point with straight away, has my screen been shared?
Hello? Yes, please proceed. Please proceed. Okay. Please allow Dr. Gupta to share the screen, please.
Am I audible and visible too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, your screen is not visible. We are given approval for screen share.
Okay.
Can you present your screen? Share your screen.
Okay.
Share screen. No, open that one. Yes. And share. Not visible.
Is it visible now?
Yes, now it is visible. I request Dr. Shaji and Manoj to moderate in support. And Dr. GD is on backend and supporting.
Okay.
Right? Is it visible now?
Exactly.
Yes,
visible.
sir.
Okay.
Visible.
Yeah. So, first of all, we pay our tributes to Dr. Henneman. With his grace, we have been in the existence of homeopathy and making our life better, as well as trying to making the life better of each and everyone, those who come under the purview of homeopathy. And with this, I definitely say that homeopathy is the one science which ensures health safely. I'm sure you all would agree with me. This is the motor neuron disease and homeopathy is the topic for today's discussion. And as I told you that by grace of God, I've got the experience of treating more than 500 cases. And today I'm going to take out the clinical study of around 450 cases at AKG OVM's Medical Center. The aims and objectives, as you know, to study the efficacy of homeopathic treatment on the progression of the disease and thus enhance the lifespan of the patient, to see the efficacy of homeopathy where it has improved the quality of life for the patient, or to bring about the symptomatic improvement. And all these cases which we have been taking, they were all pre-diagnosed with the help of MRI, EMG, and CVs and by the neurologists. And coming to this particular, history or background, as you know that ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or it is also known as Log-Oberg disease, which was being diagnosed, or initially came with the Jean-Martin Charcot, the French neurologist who, brought this particular disease and to international fame. It became when the baseball legend Lou Gehrig was diagnosed in 1939. The motor neuron disease are a group of neurological disorders that selectively affect motor neurons, the cells that control voluntary muscles activity, including speaking, walking, breathing, swallowing, and general movement of the body. As you all know, Mr. Stephen Hawking had been the, one particular person, the great scientist who had been diagnosed with ALS. It refers to the specific subset of the pathological identical diseases, other diseases of the motor neuron that should not be confused with ALS, which includes spinobulbar muscular atrophy, spinal muscular atrophy, or Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, and many others. MND basically, which leads to the progressive paralysis of and skeletal. Just a minute. Which is uncommon degenerative disorder of motor neurons with progressive paralysis of cranial and skeletal muscles. The onset is insidious, and many times patients just come to know about this when they are trying to button their shirt. They find, they are not able to button the shirt. The stumbling could be the one particular feature right from the beginning. Weakened grip, hoarseness of voice, cramps, or muscle wasting. It is considered to be an incurable disease which leads to death and within 1 to 5 years, and death usually occurs because of the respiratory muscle weakness or the ventilatory failure. In this, we find that anterior horn cell where the low motor neuron lesions are there, in corticospinal tract cells, upper motor neuron lesions are there, and both upper and low motor neuron lesions are found when we have the motor nucleus brain stem, and sensory lesions are absolutely very, very rare. Skeletal muscles are innervated by a group of neurons, which is low motor neuron located in the ventral horns of the spinal cord project out the ventral roots to the muscle cells. And the nerve innervated by the corticospinal tract in the upper motor neurons, the project from the motor cortex of the brain. That is, what we see how it comes over. In macroscopically, the degeneration of the ventral horn and spinal cord, as well as atrophy of the ventral roots. This is just to summarize the anatomical situation and all that. In the brain, atrophy may be present in the frontal and temporal lobes. On microscopic examination, neurons may show spongiosis, the presence of astrocytes, and a number of inclusions, including characteristic skin cell inclusions, Bunyan bodies, which is small eosinophilic neuronal inclusions, and vascularization. ALS tends to be the focal with particular group of muscles affected first, and the mixture of upper and low motor neuron features with wasted fasciculating biceps with a brisk, easily obtained biceps reflex. Now there are 3 types of the things which we find. The commonest is the limb onset, the 30% cases are shown with the bulbar onset, and least common is the respiratory onset. And the rarer variant, which presents in two ways, is pure upper motor neuron disease, where we have got a primary lateral sclerosis, and where lower motor neuron features progressive muscular atrophy. Now, this is very interesting. Whenever we talk about the neurological disorder or neurological condition, usually we come across the patient who have lost their intellect or who have lost their memory. Memory and intellect usually remains in this particular case, which becomes sometimes, people feel that it is a very good thing, and sometimes people find it is very, very difficult. I'll come to this. The experience of the patients when they are in advanced stage, they see everything, they know everything, they understand everything, they remember everything, but they find themselves at a mercy of the other people, or at the, feel dependent, because they cannot, neither they can communicate, nor they can write, nor they can, because they have already almost lost their voluntary control on their muscles. So the activity of whatever their mind wants to, it refuses to do. So this is a one predicament of the patient, which one finds, should he consider it to be a good sign or a bad sign? This is something which we really have to wonder upon. And incidentally, homeopathically, I have found, that we have been able to help the patient in such conditions. Cranial nerves affecting sight and lower sacral segments of the spinal cord affecting continence are also spared. So we do not have, like, patients of paralysis, the patient of, Parkinson, the patients of, other diseases, where you find a lot of problems. There is incontinence and all that, which is causing messing of the, their own patient, and he feels really very, very bad. The varied presentation and unpredictable sometimes, which is very, very rapid progression. There are many cases where I have seen the initial symptom started only a couple of months back, and it has progressed so fast that patient has become almost, unable to do anything. The progressive vascular, bulbar palsy affects around 25 to 30%, where we have dysarthria and dysphagia. In low motor neuron disease, condition, we have the recognition can be from the nasal voice, regurgitation of fluid via nose, there is atrophy of the tongue and fasciculation, and pharyngeal weakness. These are the characteristics for the low motor neuron. And when the upper motor neuron damage is there, there's a spasticity of the tongue, explosive dysarthria, and emotional lability. Affects older women predominantly, and average survival rate is 6 months to 3 years. Predominantly, low motor neuron is characterized by muscle weakness and wasting, weight loss, and fasciculation, which affects men predominantly, and there could be an average survival rate could be a 5 years plus. As the disease progresses, there may be considerable overlap, resulting in more generalized muscle wasting and weakness. The motor nuclei controlling eye movements and voluntary pelvic sphincter muscles remain intact, as we have discussed earlier, that they are spared from that particular things. Now, coming to the sign and symptoms clinically, there, according to the books and records, the age where we found this disease to be affecting, from the age of 35, in certain cases, we have seen in 50, and certain book, it has given 17, which includes progressive weakness. And here I would like to share that this is what your books, textbooks shows and says. And over a period of time, in the last 10 years or so, when I've been seeing these cases, I have seen cases as young as 18 years old also. So this age is no more a criteria, as we are seeing in many other diseases, where age used to be the one criteria of certain particular diseases, but as the days are progressing, as the advancement of things are happening, or the world is changing, this particular criteria of age is no more, important than valid nowadays. The muscle wasting, fasciculations or twitching, spasticity or stiffness in the arms and legs, the overactive tendon reflexes, foot dragging, and unilateral muscle wasting in the hands, slurred speech, choking, suffocation, difficulty in swallowing, especially liquids, and increased saliva. These are the signs and symptoms, which normally patient has that. But there could be a different, kind of presentation as, patient shows. As we said, there are fasciculation, neck stiffness, muscle wasting, muscle aches, cramp, stiffness of the body, weakness, fatigue, clumsiness, stumbling, tendency to fall, excessive salivation, dribbling of saliva, slurring of speech, total loss of speech, difficulty in chewing, choking, difficulty in opening the mouth, difficulty in protruding the tongue, difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in breathing, difficulty in raising, laughing inappropriate, crying inappropriate, difficulty in sleeping, difficulty in turning in bed, and weak grip and difficulty in walking. With this kind of a clinical presentation, you can see the basic general aspect of a person's life gets affected, because all these things can be there all together in one particular patient, or one patient may show a couple of these things as a presentation in the clinic. This is a diagrammatically where we see that what happens in upper motor neuron dysfunction and what happens in lower motor neuron dysfunction. When we have an upper motor neuron, there is pseudobulbar effect, moderate weakness, spasticity, and plantar reflexes are hyperflexia, and extra plantar reflexes are hyper there. And in this, severe weakness, fasciculations, muscle cramps, muscle hypotonicity, muscular atrophy, and hyperflexia. Now, very often we find that, the patient of this particular disease, the diagnosis becomes very, very difficult, because as we discussed earlier, the presenting symptoms could be weakness in the hands. The patient finds difficulty in buttoning up the shirt, or there is a difficulty in speech, difficulty in swallowing. So what happens? The patient goes initially to either to an ENT specialist, or he goes to an orthopedic surgeon, or he goes to a physician for under these things to be considering there's a difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in speech, or there's a choking problem, or when there's a weakness. So there's a good amount of time gets lost when the patient reaches to a neurologist. And this is unfortunate that because of the, not much of awareness about this particular disease, or among the patients as well as among the, medical side also. So what happens, a good amount of time is being lost, because one specialist keeps on doing a lot of investigation of his own from, ENT side, or from this coming from orthopedic side. All types of, X-rays are there, scans are there. Then finally switching off from one, specialty to the other, to the third, then fourth, and then finally one is landed up or recommended to go to see a neurologist. And that is the time when you start thinking, the problem has already occurred. And however, the diagnosis of MND remains a clinical one. As I said, there is no specific test where we can say that, label it that this is a case of motor neuron disease. The clinical aspect of the understanding is rapid progression of symptoms is a strong diagnostic factor in this motor neuron disease. As I said, ALS may mimic other diseases also, multiple sclerosis, spinal cord tumors, or nerve compression. Whenever there is a nerve compression, you have a problem in the neck, problem in the shoulders, hands. So one is likely to see an orthopedic surgeon first rather than a neurologist or homeopathy directly. The other diagnostic techniques are EMG, NCV, MRI scans, and when the routine blood tests are done, you see, from this point of view, CPK, MUSK is, like when you need to, rule out the myasthenia gravis, thyroid profile. And I have seen in recent studies, the people who have had lead, mercury, arsenic, copper, or magnesium, either deficiency or over, of that. Like, in today's time, when we are seeing a lot of people are taking contaminated food, or where these colors, dyes are being used in making the vegetables green, and the other things are leading into more neurological disorders because of the poisoning of the lead. I've seen, the patient otherwise having absolutely normal, good condition economically from all, this thing, but their content tested on the lead is more than 10, 15 times. And that lead, poisoning also show a lot of neurological symptoms. Now, coming to the treatment part, currently said there is no cure for ALS or MND. The only drug which the modern medicine has to offer is Riluzole, or commonly known as Zolotor. And incidentally, this medicine is being distributed free by Sun Pharma in India, and the only medicine given by allopathic doctors for any and every type of MND condition. As I earlier said, that we have some, an edge over this particular, allopathic system because of, other things which will come later on, which they say Riluzole might able to block the neurotransmitter glutamate and may stop or slow down the progression of the disease. This is what has been claimed, but few of the cases, yes, it has happened, but majority of the patients, it has not been able to curtail the progression of the disease. The other, in today's time, when everything is becoming so commercialized, stem cell treatment is the one which has been very, very expensive, but people have started floating their advertisements for this motor neuron disease or other diseases as one of the latest treatment in offering. And incidentally, in this entire period of more than 10 to 12 years of my studies in these cases, not even a single case I have found who had been benefited by stem cells so far. There have been patients, one of my patients who was in America, he had 6 cycles of stem cells, spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees, and nothing happened. And the latest, another one is Adavarone injections, which is the latest technique which has come from US and Japan. But that also is also under a trial. Say there's no definite responses. Physiotherapy and speech therapy should be used as an auxiliary treatment, yes. And this is one particular aspect which I want to highlight, that once a patient reaches to a neurologist, after having the battery of tests and everything from running from this place to the other place, all kind of investigation being done, and finally diagnosed that yes, you are suffering from ALS or MND, and this is the treatment, Riluzole or whatever it is. And unfortunately, the patient is being told there and then on the face of the patient, there is no treatment, no cure for this particular disease. So you, आप इसका मतलब जैसे ना दवा दारू और जो मतलब अपना इसको बस ख्याल रखें. This is what is being done. And at this particular forum of IFPH, incidentally, I would like to, make an appeal and would like that if we can take up this matter, that people indulging into this kind of statements should be avoided, that they should be warned, they should be cautioned that giving this particular statement to a patient or not to the attendant but to the patient or directly causes much more damage than what the real disease does. As when he goes to any other doctor, like this is what I'm telling is my personal experience. When he comes to a homeopathic searching for any other treatment through the net or through some word of mouth from some patient those who have been benefited, he always remains in doubt because he has heard from the neurologists of the hospitals, reputed hospitals like AIMS, like Fortis or Apollo and all that, that there is no treatment, no cure. So his mind is blocked. He is basically, one particular brain is shut to accept anything. Even if I'm like today morning, I tell you, I had a patient who had been under my treatment for the last 8-9 months, and he's been much better. His attendants say he's better, but he was of the opinion कि मेरे को थोड़ी wasting हो रही है. After wasting, when he says कि like when you take off the shirt and you do like this, so he sees कि मेरे यहाँ पे गड्ढा पड़ रहा है. Then I have to tell him कि like even those people who are bodybuilders and all that, जिनकी अच्छी मसल था, वो भी गड्ढा, that it shows गड्ढा over there also, because he was told that there is no cure and the wasting would this, so उनके mind से वो mindset हुआ है. तो इस चीज को हमें we need to really make people aware and create awareness on this, that they should not either practice into such kind of thing, or at least they can say we do not have any treatment so far, but you may try. At least don't make the patient hopeless, don't make the patient die before his death. MND is a fast progressing degenerative disease with devastating illness which leads to progressive paralysis and eventual death. It is considered to be an incurable disease where modern medicine science does not have much to offer. This is what I was trying. At ATZ OVMs, that's Om Vidya Institute of Homeopathy and Allied Medical Sciences, encouraging results have been obtained with homeopathy. This is the, where we have lots and lots of to offer. As we've been always talking about, like yesterday, Dr. Vinu was, talking about the cancer, and we've been seeing other different speakers and different doctors speaking on different aspects. Miasmatically, we find that, this comes under a complex mixed mias, and predominance is the syphilitic mias. As we all say, and we love to, talk about that constitutional remedy should be given, and ultimately that is the answer. As I say, constitutional simulum is a dictum, no doubt. But as I have seen in my own, these cases of MND, which is fast progressing disease, remedies of regional affinity or local remedies are equally required and effective. I might sound little different from the classical aspect of the homeopathy, because in this particular type of patients, whenever they come, they have one particular thing in them which is very predominantly causing them a problem, and they do need an immediate relief on that. Until and unless some relief is not been obtained by them, as I told you that they have already come with a preconceived notion and idea that there is no treatment, it's not going to get better. So जब तक उनको थोड़ा सा भी relief नहीं मिलेगा, they will not be able to stick to you. So at times when we give deep acting constitutional remedy, we have to give some local remedies also at the time of need. We had 37% is a female and 63% is a male. Now, this is in a slurring of speech. So I'm not able, just a minute. Oh.
It will automatically.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
The screen is not shared.
Huh?
Again, you have to click on the green. Click on green. Click on the screen you want to share. That screen and share.
Well, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay. As we said, the symptom is a slurring of speech. We came across 76% of the patients had this slurring of speech, and out of those, 69% patients showed a good improvement. Difficulty in swallowing, 57% patients showed this particular symptom, and 51% of those patients showed a good improvement with homeopathy. Choking, 47% had that particular symptom, and 58% of those patients showed a very good improvement with homeopathic treatment. And now, in today's time, when as I said that because of the lockdown and the patient of MND who is not in a position to come to Delhi and see me personally. So nowadays, what we are doing with seeing the patient on screen through Skype and other things. So this is one of the patient I was seeing, through Skype, which you can see. And there's symptoms of tongue. And it is one very important thing, the symptom, the tongue symptoms, which shows around 28%, they show different symptoms in a different patient. It can be heaviness of the tongue, there could be fasciculation of the tongue, there could be sensation of tongue rolling inside, odd sensation of some foreign body on tongue, and patient finding as if it has been atrophied, it has been thickened up. There are patients who feel that the tongue has been pulled back. They are not able to protrude it out. So these are very important symptoms from the patient's point of view. And homeopathy is again very, very effective because we have our repertoire on these things, which will be coming to on later on. And unfortunately, in allopathy or in the modern medicine, all those patients with different set of symptoms or different set of problems pertaining to themselves have got no other treatment other than the Ralodor. So what action Ralodor is going to have on one is one thing, where we have the patients having typical particular symptoms of their own. That is the forte for homeopathy, where we can help much better. And I said earlier, if the particular patient has got this kind of symptom, we have to give that local remedy to control that symptom and give the efficacy on that. And we've been fortunate enough to see that 68% of our cases had relieved of these tongue troubles. Salivation is a one, again, feature where 46% patients, they do complain. And out of those, 52% patients have been relieved considerably. Generalized weakness, 86% had been complaining of weakness and weight loss, and 48% patients we have been able to show good result and good effect. this is one particular aspect, and the another aspect is the emaciation, which still I'm working on. I would like all the August gathering and our physicians and all around the world to come forward with their experiences also, so that we can help the patient in a better manner. Fasciculations, as I said, that 88% patients they do have the fasciculation, and 82% of the patients are suffering from fasciculation have been benefited tremendously with homeopathy. Tendency to fall is a 39% patients they show, not each and every one, and 60% of the patients have been benefited with homeopathy. And coughing is a 44% patients they have a coughing as a symptom, and 50% of the patients have been benefited. Difficulty to hold the neck, 28% come up with this particular symptom in the beginning itself, and 50% patients have been wonderfully helped with homeopathy. Now, I will be definitely talking about this case, if you can see in the picture, which has really, made me to work hard and hard on this. This was the one patient, if you can see, this particular patient head has been tied with a headgear and tied to the back of the chair to keep her neck straight. This patient was, I was called upon to see this patient in Assam, and when I went there and saw her, she was in a very, very pathetic condition. This was a situation where, she was to be, keep her neck straight, and she was unable to open the mouth. Her son used to feed her with dipping a cotton into the sabji and vegetable and just put it on the lips, so that she can just moisten up her, lips and mouth. She couldn't chew, she couldn't eat. And incidentally, when I came back, I said, okay, after seeing, the patient, we'll be giving the medicine. And before I could send the medicine, I got a news that she has passed off. So this was the turning point for me. The patient who had spent money for my trip and paid me there, and before even we could start the treatment, she had passed off. So my whole work for this, MND work, research work started after this and is dedicated to this particular lady. 17% patients reportedly came where they showed diseases had progressed so much that it was very difficult to make a fine movements like buttoning a shirt, sewing, writing, clapping, etc. And due to severe progression rate in such cases, only 34% patients reportedly were comfortable after making, taking a homeopathic treatment. The emaciation part is a 37% patient had emaciation, and 51% showed that the emaciation stopped, which was a progression. As I said in the very beginning, what is the criteria, what is the aim and objective, that we should be in a position to help the patient. As I said, the patient comes with this mind that there is no treatment, no cure, and this disease is going to progress till their death. And the progression is so fast, which has been seen by the patient, so he loses complete faith and trust in any of the medicines. Where emaciation becomes visible, so the patient starts looking, as I was talking about another case in the morning itself. As I said, because he was so convinced, there was so, fixed notion was there, the emaciation would take place. So ultimately things are going from bad to worse. So emaciation is one thing where we need to work hard. Now see the level of emaciation you can see in this particular case. This is tendency to, fall or the gait. You can see the typical gait and walking of this particular patient. This is the tongue fasciculation. You can note the constant movement, constant fasciculation of the tongue with the margins. As I said, the patient has a sandy feeling. You can see the cut tongue also. All these features are of no importance or criteria for an allopathic prescription. Whereas this becomes a very, very important from a homeopathic point of view, and the treatment, that is how and why we are able to help the patient when we can take these things in a local manner also. Now, coming to the repertorial study and analysis of motor neuron disease, as I said, this is where is khajana of homeopathy, where we have everything listed in a manner. It is thanks to Dr. Hahnemann, thanks to all the stalwarts of homeopathy who have worked and come out with a repertory. It's been so precise that which patient may feel is a very, different or unexpected symptom. But on looking to the repertory, we find that it has already been mentioned. Like twitching of muscle is in general, and twitching of muscles in the legs, in various conditions, trembling. When we see while dragging and walking, neck stiffness, mouth salivation is one thing where we can sometimes find a very, very typical symptom already mentioned in the repertory, and there is one or two remedies, and they found to be very, 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 very effective. This is the thing I think which the modern medicine lacks completely, and because they do not have got such kind of a repertoire of different symptoms and different medication, they just rely on the one particular remedy or one particular medicine, and they are saying that there is no treatment, no cure, or no anything which can be done for the patient suffering from this disease. We have got general atrophy, there is a sleeplessness, general fall, tendency to fall, extremities dropping, wrist, the plumbum, extremities twitching of the hands. We have got number of medicines. And the best part is, when we say that, when we talk about one person as a general as a whole, but when a symptom are very, very typical or particular, like twitching of the eyes left only or the right only, this luxury of working in this particular type and giving medicines is only in homeopathy. We have got cuprum arts for the left eye, and Retania and Theridon is in the right eye. Now, this kind of a specificity cannot be found in any other medication, treatment. So that is why I've been time and again saying that we have got definitely some edge over it, provided people, if they come with an open mind and they are receptive to take this homeopathy in a positive manner, this manner, it will definitely show much better results. Like Murphy repertory there, which shows, and I am sure that you all know. So I won't be, my idea of, keeping this in a slide was to show that we have, the situation where we can work better and help our patients much better. Now, swallowing is difficult in only while we're taking the liquids. There's a patient who are suffering or find difficulty only when they find solids are difficult to take. So we have got a different kind of medication and help them with those medications also. Like, these are different repertories. It was my compilation. This is what I've been using. So I just wanted to share that this is how you can also, if you come across any patient of motor neuron disease or of such a nature, you can look into these repertories, which will be helpful. By Roberts also, And now this is another, as I said, I mean, liability is when you have an uncontrollable laughing and uncontrollable weeping. Yesterday, I had a patient, I mean, from Egypt. He's a doctor himself, is a nephrologist. I mean, I got in the interview, I mean, while I was taking case on the Skype, that he himself, being a doctor, he said that I do not know that, I mean, what makes me laugh. Now, I mean, I've not, I mean, worked out on this case. This is since yesterday only I've taken up that particular case on the Skype. So, I mean, a person who has been a doctor, he's been able to understand the difference in the normalcy. In what happens in routine cases, people in ये तो कहते हैं इसकी आदत है, ये तो ऐसे I mean हंसता है या हंसता रहता है, but they do not take it seriously. Whereas this could be a symptom for us. So in this particular type of patients, the case taking has to be very, very precise, and we need to be observant. And unfortunately, what I mean happens that I came across a couple of patients where the patient has lost his voice, speech was completely lost, and hands were not, I mean, able to, I mean, write, or the patient was not educated enough to write down. So the challenge comes to get the symptoms from those type of patients. It's very, very difficult. And when we are able to elicit those symptoms, then we can work in a much better position. This is one of the big challenge where we don't get the symptoms clearly. Now, this is one important aspect which I would like to share with you. Difficulty in swallowing capsicum, causticum, gelsemium, calisanatum, lachesis, nitric acid, and strychnine. These are the remedies which I have found in the, I mean, have worked and shown a very good result with me. In choking in throat, arsenic, causticum, calisanatum, lachesis, lysine. Difficulty in speaking, again, causticum, hyoscyamus, calisanatum, stramonium, lachesis, and merc. Difficulty in speaking, I mean, calisanatum I have found to be very, very, I mean, effective, though it's one of the rare remedies, I mean, normally not, I mean, used, or when the patient, I mean, has been told or he sees that you're writing calisanatum, that means potassium cyanide, so he wonders, he shudders. I mean, it's a poison, supposed to be the deadliest poison. Is this the medicine? So this is again, which medicine given as a calisanatum has some impact on the system of the body in a positive manner, which shows that it is not placebo again, and it is not, when it is in the dynamic, I mean, given, it is no more a poison, it has some medicinal properties too. Tendency to fall, like, I mean, we have got the causticum, ferrum, gelsemium, lycopodium, thuja, netramure, phosphorus, acid, phosphoric acid, rustox, and zincum. Difficulty in holding, like as I was showing that particular case of that lady, Calcarea phos, gelsemium, calisanatum, and increased salivation, lysine, mercury, syphilinum, and helleborus. Weakness of limbs, arnica, arsenic, bryonia, causticum, curare, gelsemium, lathyrus, rustrox, and strychnine has shown very good results. In foot drops, again, causticum, netramure, plumbum, rustox, zincum, and dragging the limb while walking, conium, lachesis, lathyrus, plumbum, rustox, and secale. Here I would like to, tell you one thing more, which I have observed in this, out of so many cases. Majority of the patients, they have been having a good position, holding a very good position in their offices. Either they are principals, professors, doctors, or panchayat ke jo sarpanch and all that. They had come across some kind of a what you call letdown situation in their life at some time or the other, which they have been taking as a, brooding over for the past so many years. Like I was talking about this, the nephrologist from Egypt yesterday. He was surprised when I was asking about the history. when I asked this, this in the mental aspect, because they've been only taking out the physical aspects of the, physical symptoms of the patient and taking the medicine. When I was taking his history, when I asked any incident, then he said, oh, yes, doctor, in 2013, I was to be promoted as a professor, but I was not given a chance, and there had been a very big fight. I had to, fight for many years. Then he asked, doctor, do you think that it has any relevance with, my problem? When I told him, he was so surprised that homeopathy has got this thing, where it works out in this particular manner and helps. So this is where one, thing which we see the patients with the pride hurt, injustice happen to them, or they've seen some, injustice in the family. Like there was another case, who that lady was given an assurance by her brother-in-law that he is going abroad and he'll call her children also abroad, which he did not. So that kind of a grudge, that kind of a thing she had been carrying on and landing him into this kind of a problem. So emaciation, we have got Calcarea iode, Calcarea phos, causticum, iodium, lachesis, lycopodium, natramode, stannum, and sulfur. Regurgitation of food, aurum, carbolic acid, carboveg, causticum, mercor, muriatic acid, and gait disordered or altered gait, agaricus, alumina, conium, gelsium, lathyrus, picric acid, rustox, strychnine, and zincum. Twitching and fasciculation, as you know, agaricus, gelsium, and plumbum, zincum are the top remedies. The other remedies have been hyoscyamus, lysine, melianthus, phosphoric acid, strychnine, and tarantula. Now, coming to the cases I would like to share. As I said initially, like we've been talking about in this bookish content, that it starts from 30, 40, and as I was talking about, that youngest patient I found out was 18 years old man, boy. He came to me on 26th of December 2019 with a complaint of weakness in body for the last 1.5 years. Weakness, especially in lower extremities, weakness in legs, unable to get up and walk. Complaint started from lower extremities with wasting of muscles and weakness 1.5 years ago. And the patient had to be carried. And you can understand the predicament of the family, that 18-year-old boy need to be carried by his father wherever he has to go. There was a history of fever with urine infection. I'm not able to cut that. With a history of fallen back and got injured around 1.5 years ago. Complaints started after the fall. Unable to walk and stand on his own, has to be carried in lap. There have been fasciculation, twitching of the muscles, wasting of muscles with emaciation and weakness, general weakness in body, stiffness of neck, sometimes urine of mud color, offensive, semen emission with urine and spermatoria. This was in the clinic. Inability to get up and the weakness of the legs, which you can see. You could see that he was absolutely unable to even get up even few inches from the seat. He was brought to the clinic by, carried in his lap by the attendant. Emaciation of both hands, you could see here. Is it so visible? even fasciculation. Even history of masturbation with night emission, excessive weakness in body after masturbation and night emission. Sleep used to get disturbed with the slightest of noise. He used to have sexual and lascivious dreams. Sudden gain of height in 2016. There have been papular rashes with burning, which was better by covering or removing clothes. Uncovering and removing clothes. Gestational history, he was a premature baby at the age of, born at the 7th month, and there was no vaccination done. Ailments from fall injury on back around 1.5 years ago. And mentals was either very social and friendly, but now gets easily irritated again because he has been confined to his bed and finds no, unable to get up and move around. So he started getting much more and more irritated. And whereas he had been always a fun-loving boy, used to love company of the friends, feels happy when people come to see him. Weeping tendency, emotional anxiety about his health, and likes traveling. This you can see the wasting of muscles here. Both the hands. In the investigation, the vitamin D was low, and as I told you that he had been going to the different doctors. The very first thing every doctor had been trying to give him was give him vitamin B, vitamin low. So his vitamin B level has already gone to 2000, and he was ANA positive, HCV positive, and CPK was 73.6. And that EMG had suggested as a neurogenic disorder, and initial was given over arnica-tanum and abiraterone. On the follow-up was done on, that was after nearly 2 months. That was, in the month of February 2020. There was slight difficulty in swallowing, weakness present, tingling in hands, wasting of muscles, stiffness of neck, sleep improved, headache in temporal region, better by closing eyes, cracking in joints present, back pain, worse by lying down, cramps, tingling sensation in hands, and night emission with weakness in body. And this, after 2 months of the treatment, when the investigations were done, the ANA became negative, CPK was improved, and vitamin D from 15, it had come to 33.2, which had also improved. So the medicine given were acid phos and Plumbamate. Follow up on in the month of March, complaints, April, complaints were better, night emission improved, fasciculation still there, but sleep improved. This was done in the month of June. Pain in back, difficulty in turning on bed, walking improved a bit, now able to walk 3 to 6 steps with support, night emission 2 to 3 times in a week, with weakness, slightly improved, vertigo and darkness before the eyes while sitting, nausea morning, especially after, breakfast after, pain in left leg and hand with stiffness in legs, fasciculation, weakness in hands with loss of strength, weakness generalized. This was in the month of June. And after the month, treatment of 7 months in July, you could see the same patient. And this was a time when this, lockdown period has already started. You can see the patient coming with the mask and all that. The corona time. This one in the month of August. Now he's able to stand and he's able to move with support. This was in a month of September. After a treatment of 9 months, he says that he still says it's a 10-15%. Now, this is the irony. You could see the person, the patient who was, brought by carrying in his lab, and now he's in a position to walk. He's positioned, to move around. But still, this is the psychology of the patient. To instead of saying that completely better, yes, they say that some percentage is better. And the month of October, slight improvement in trembling while standing. Seminal emission has improved once in 10-15 days. Weakness, which used to follow after the seminal emission. Now he can walk 40-50 steps. Fasciculation improved, almost stopped occasionally in arms and legs. Nausea, again, morning after breakfast. And stiffness, worse long sitting after. Vertigo with darkness. This is on the 14th of October, after 10 months of treatment. Now in the month of December, that was stiffness in legs, much better, fasciculation in back and thighs, occasionally nausea, worse after eating, vomiting, bitter taste in mouth, nausea and vomiting while traveling. And this was on 8th of December with almost around 12 months, emaciation restored and patient now able to get up without support from another person. Now you can see the emaciation which was there in the earlier has already been almost filled up. The patient has gained weight also. Now the patient has started even climbing stairs. Though there is a difficulty, he finds difficulty, but you can see at least from the time when he came to me, in 2019, December, he was not able to, raise a couple of inches from the seat. Now, with effort and all that, he's been able to stand on his own. Now the patient is able to walk and make a balance with little bit of support. Now I can see that the attendant is not holding him even. latest on the January 6th, emission of once in a while during sleep with weakness, trembling in legs have improved. All these things are better. Fasciculations is almost negligible. And this is on day before yesterday. I got a video from him that of, because in my clinic there are no stairs, so we could not see. And he is still undergoing treatment, and remedies used were Staphylococcus aureus, acid phos, curare, zincum mat, and cocculus. And I definitely, see and recommend that auxiliary measures along with homeopathy to get the best of results, which is physiotherapy, protein-rich diet, meditation, and exercises. Like now, there are other cases, but I think there's a paucity of time. Can we take other cases also? Or we come on?
Yeah, it is already.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because the cases are there, but it will take some more time. Shall we take up a case, or shall we go further? With the other things to discuss.
How long it will take one more case, doctor?
One more case would take again 15 minutes or so, because if we need to, either we can skip the descriptions.
Maybe, how do you feel good for yourself for discussing a case or discussions with the forum?
No, this is because, because this is a different kind of presentations are there. So if you wish, I can talk about, the cases, or otherwise we can go for the other part of the remedial measures too.
Okay, then go fast with the one more case, doctor.
Okay, I think skip cases because it will take some time. Now, some more useful medicines which we have found very, very effective and all that. If everyone says we can talk about these on the details of the remedies, or we can discuss about the other parts of the disease too. The agaricus has shown very good result with the tendency to falling backward, chorea twitching. There are facial muscles which stiffness and twitching. Swallowing is difficult. This part, I think, can we skip, or shall we take it?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Well, I have compiled certain things. Okay, I will come to the other remedies of which I have found to be very useful. I'm just talking about, with a short this thing, so that at least one gets an idea what are the remedies which have been very, very effectively seen with the positive results. Okay?
Okay.
The arsenal, because as I said earlier also, as we talk about in homeopathy in a classical manner, take the constitutional, give the constitutional remedy or give antimiasmatic remedy and then wait. But in this particular type of patients, alone one medicine will not be sufficient enough. We have to have, the other support of the other medicines time to time. So this is which is very important, because unlike in other cases of chronic diseases and chronic patients, we may give medicine and wait for some time, but here we cannot. We have to take the support of the other local remedies also. Causticum again, these are the deep acting remedies, but I will come for the those medicines which are found effective in a different manner, like some rare drugs. These are all, Plumbamet, Causticum, Gelsemium are the few remedies which have been found very effective. And as I said, if we are able to elicit the cause of disease from which has started with a mental depression or mental, agony, or where there is a pride hurt, and all those things I found to start remedy covering that part, plus the local part medicines of covering the symptoms in different patients. You have got a throat symptoms or tongue symptoms or the fasciculation symptom. We have to give that medicines too. The reference is one particular medicine which I found where the patient feels that he has become dependent, and this dependency is intolerable for him. That he has become dependent on other people, or there are people that he has become a burden on his attendants or his family members. So these are the mental rubric where we find things can be given from that aspects also. Syflinum is again a remedy, as I said, intercurrently, which can be used when we talk about that as a deep acting degenerative disease and miasmatic background also. Zincomet have been found very effective. Curare is a one medicine which have found, especially in the hands, muscular paralysis without impairing sensation and consciousness, paralysis of respiratory muscles, reflexation diminished, nervous debility, threatened paralysis of respiration on falling asleep, short dry cough, provoking vomiting, which followed by fainting, chest soreness to pressure, very distressing dyspnea, arms weak and heavy, cannot lift the fingers, legs tremble, give way in walking, worse right side. Guaiaco is another remedy which has been found very good in bulbar paralysis, where we have seen the heaviness of the trunk and difficult to move with spinal irritation. Larynx and trachea feel constricted, which causes difficulty in deglutition. There is weariness through the hips and lumbar region and paralysis of lower extremities. Calisanitum, as I was talking about earlier also, though it is, considered to be the deadliest poison and a very good remedy for the carcinoma of the tongue also. Sudden sinking sensation, speech difficult, power of speech lost, but intelligence intact. Cough prevents sleep, respiration weak, cannot take a deep breath. Lathyrus, reflexes always increase, lateral sclerosis, excessive rigidity of the legs, gluteal muscles and lower limbs emaciated, toes do not leave the floor, heels do not touch the floor, muscles of calves very tense. Meninthus, weakness and emaciation of the thinner and hypothinner muscles, as we see in the patient's hands, and as soon as patient lies down, there's a jerk in the legs and there's a twitching. Oxytropin is also found to be very effective for the congestion of spine and paralysis. There's a staggering gait, reflexes are lost, worse, thinking of symptoms, mental depression, numb feeling about the spine. Strychnine is also very, nicely used remedy where there's a lot of over irritability, jerking of the head forward. There's a spasm of muscles about the larynx, excessive dyspnea, persistent cough, recurring influenza, rigidity of cervical muscles, and limbs stiff with the violent jerks. Like these are the unlike cases where you can see the efficacy of homeopathy seen in a patient who was on ventilator. This was a case I was called upon to see at PGI Chandigarh. This is very, I'm not going to take up the complete case. It is just for the patient to see the efficacy of homeopathy where, normal routine cases are not there. You could observe the continuous movement of the jaw and fixed eyes. There's no, any movement in the eyes. This was seen on 23rd of June, 2010. This is the hospital, and this was in October 2010 when I saw the patient in our house in Ludhiana. Now see the continuous jaw movement has stopped, involuntary jaw movement has stopped, and now the patient has started responding. You can see the, with the movement of eyes. Because, she had pneumonia, she was responding very well, but she had pneumonia, which had again caused a little problem, deteriorated. But now you can see the movement of her eyes whenever the hands are moved. You can see she started rolling. And the jaw movement has stopped. The continuous involuntary movement was there earlier. Okay. And coming to the conclusion, efficacy of homeopathic medicine, we see these 51% has shown a relief in this or particular problems, and swallowing, neck holding, salivation, tongue symptoms have been improved tremendously with homeopathic treatment. This is a graphical chart which you can see. Here I would like to tell something, though no definite cure, homeopathy has ensured respite from this dreadful disease by slowing down the fast progression of degeneration and improve the quality of life and increasing the lifespan. The case which I was trying to show in the second number, he was a patient who was given the life expectancy by the doctors at AIIMS not to be more than 1.5 to 2 years. And that patient is still alive and he is with me. It's been more than 13 years. And the best part is he was totally on homeopathic medicine. He never had any Rolator nor Riluzole. And even the patient which I showed, the case of this boy, he's been totally treated on homeopathy. So if the patient of this disease totally treated on homeopathy, they have shown better results rather than the patients, those who have been taking already allopathic medicines. But at the same time, I do not ask them to stop it completely because the patient has been taking it for some time with this already no hope. So I said, this is up to you. If you want, you can. From my side, there is no need. And at times there are problems. The patient start becoming over enthusiastic. They take allopathic medicine, they take homeopathic medicine, and they take Ayurvedic medicines also. Because it is a human nature, they want to get relieved as fast as possible. So where we need to give a lot of counseling to the patient also is important. So let us put our best efforts to bring an END end to the MND. Thank you very much. And this is what we have been doing at this place of Achilles OVM, where along with homeopathy, we are offering, psychological treatment also to the patients with much better results. We have got a lot of things further, but since the time is not permitting me, so there, it's a huge repertoire which is already cut short. With this, I would like to conclude and say thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing and giving me an opportunity to talk and share my views with all these August gathering. And I would like to share you all to share your personal experiences if you have treated any of these cases so that we can interact in a better manner to help the patient. Thank you very much.